I'm going to say this and I'm going to shut up about it, okay? I promise I will never say it again. Rock and roll is the white version of rhythm and blues, okay? No, I mean, this is not no prejudice thing, so don't go there, all right? I'm just telling you the real truth. Rock and roll is the offshoot of black rhythm and blues.
Growing up, like most black kids who are seen outside of the stereotypical bubble people force you in, you are often called white or a sellout because of your interests. Those things affected me a lot as a kid, but as an adult, it's a minor annoyance, mostly because it's an uninformed opinion. When people disagree with me, I'm not confident in my opinions because of arrogance or because of anecdotal experience, but because of outside evidence. Someone misunderstanding or not knowing that black music is at the root of punk and hardcore doesn't change my love for it, and it doesn't make me white. And won't make me carry any shame that is not mine around it. I have to say also, for people who swear that black people aren't a monolith, they definitely refuse to see that there's beautiful diversity within all of our communities, and that's super sophomoric to approach blackness that way.
This is a sick Negro.
Decolonize your mind and expeditiously please. Punk, hardcore, and traditional skinhead culture have deep, often overlooked connections to black history, and we are setting all of that straight today with this video. These subcultures, hi Ida! These subcultures are rooted in working class rebellion, do-it-yourself musicians, and radical political expression, and have been profoundly shaped by black musicians and communities. We weren't on the sidelines, we weren't secondary characters, but we were integral to what punk, hardcore, and alternative scenes are as a whole. Full stop. Despite later misrepresentations and co-optation by racist elements, which often happens with any subculture, quite frankly, the original essence of these spaces was diverse and inclusive, and on purpose. There are a million bands out there and plenty of black people who were important to scenes locally and internationally that I may forget or overlook in this video, and it's definitely not intentional. Drop them below if I do. Tell me about your favorite person in your local scene. This is specifically about black roots of these movements though, however, the bands and venues that define them and all of their lasting impact. Things that history has undervalued or forgotten about. Punk is often associated with white, male-dominated bands and communities, both historically and in present day. Things are definitely changing, and positively so in that regard. However, its origins are intertwined with black music, and it's undeniable. Punk has always been a child of black rebellion, in my opinion. Punk rock as a genre emerged from the raw energy of garage rock, blues, and even reggae, all of which have deep black musical roots and political intention. Before punk became a global movement, its sound and ethos were shaped by black music. Garage rock, proto-punk, reggae, and soul played a key role in shaping what would become punk. Jimi Hendrix was known more for psychedelic rock. However, his raw playing and wild stage presence influenced later punk musicians. Bands like Funkadelic and Sly and the Family Stone showed black people in a way that was completely unfamiliar to America at the time, which was on the fringes of culture. They were integrated, they were different. They participated in hippie culture, radical politics, and even recreational drugs. This was a staunch contrast between the respectability politics at the time and made them stand out. This is also a budding seed of the punk attitude that we know and love today. I found out recently when watching the Sly Lives documentary that the Black Panther Party regularly pressured musicians and artists to become more political. And honestly, that's kind of awesome. These are people that have major influence and should be pressured to speak up. Probably most most foundationally, Death, an all-black band from Detroit, was playing raw, fast rock that predated the punk movement.
It was a great time. It was that Motown time.
And you know, here we are in the middle of all of this playing rock and roll.
What you say now?
Nobody was making music like that in '73.
Three black brothers from Detroit, Michigan.
What were they called?
They were called Death. That's a good name.
Have you lost your mind?
He told us you guys might have a record deal if you change the name.
Absolutely not. We are fighting to maintain our identity.
It's pretty hard to be black playing rock because you had to be Motown if you were black.
White boy music.
We got turned down by every major label.
I just put the tapes in a safe place. I didn't think about it.
One day the world's going to come looking for the Death Master tapes.
There's been hardcore history sitting up in that attic, and no one's known about it.
We're just now discovering this band that had been sort of lying in wait.
Something they pressed 30 years ago, selling for $800.
Dad, why didn't you tell me?
He says they're playing your music at underground parties here.
It's been 34 years since the songs have been heard.
It's one of those things that keeps you going to the record store, hoping for another great story like that.
The ultimate trend.
I don't know of a story like that. I don't know of one.
If nothing else, you can see that Detroit, a black city known for its working class values and its black music scene, played an integral role in creating punk as a genre. Much like techno, Detroit's musicians used the sounds and the emotional pulse of the city to create a sound that transcends time and place. Honestly, it's the same with soul music too, and it's all about the attitude. Punk was officially born in 1977 in the UK. However, Death was exploring punk rock sound and building its foundation in the early 70s in 1971. Another band that gets overlooked often is Pure Hell from Philadelphia. They're considered the first black punk band, full stop. Like the first black punk band that knew the genre they were playing and weren't exploring a new sound. They were the sound. These were the contemporaries of The Clash and the Sex Pistols. Their rebellious energy preceded them both off and on the stage. Bad Brains started hardcore punk in 1977 in Washington, D.C. They somehow got even more fast, more aggressive, and more unique than the punk rockers at the time. I think it is because there's always an inherent anti-authoritarianism that comes with being a black person. It reminds me of W.E.B. Du Bois and his mention of double consciousness. It also reminds me of some of the most punk, rebellious rock music I've ever heard in my life is actually from Zambia and under the genre Zamrock. Again, to me, it's all about the attitude. They added complexity to their music with their fusion of reggae, Rastafarianism, and philosophy. Bad Brains are the godfathers of hardcore as a genre. Period.
This song's titled Super Touch.
The
Without Bad Brains, there would be no hardcore. Even your faves, John Joseph and Agnostic Front, say and swear by this. It's like Bad Brains permitted people to be angry, to express themselves, and to embrace being working class in a way that socially is always put down, but especially at the time. Think of it. It's a post-Nixon, Jimmy Carter, pre-Reagan America. A lot of these kids who we now idolize as great musicians in their 50s and 60s were the younger siblings of veterans who died in Vietnam, or the child of a vet who got hurt in Vietnam. They were the children of people who went to World War II or Korea. They were the grandchildren of people who experienced the Great Depression. There was so much trauma and very few places for outlets. People became progressively more angry, and hippie and disco life was just not cutting it anymore. While in America, punk was being defined by the backlash of America's global and systemic impacts, the same would be argued across the water in Britain. Punk history overlooks women and femmes in the scene, and I believe it's with chauvinistic ignorance that this happens often. There's always been this idea that femme musicians cannot or do not get punk fully, and some people have to clarify femme contributions to the scene. Like, oh, that person's special. Like the women who stick around and put up with all the BS are special and are honorable for doing so, and everybody else who walked away for not wanting to deal with the drama or the bullshit of being in a chauvinistic scene, they didn't cut it. Because of this lasting attitude, I think it's very important to highlight and amplify women like Polystyrene of the X-Ray Specs more specifically. As a biracial woman, being both British and Somali, she faced racism, challenges with her identity, and struggles with capitalism, both in the world and also within her music. She's a pioneer of feminist punk and for women and marginalized genders and punk in general. She taught us all that it's okay to be different and to take up space, even in a place that swears up and down those hierarchies no longer matter. But somehow we keep reinforcing them in these so-called alternative spaces. Why is that? Most people who even have a limited understanding of music history understand Black America's influence on rock and roll as a whole, which then includes the lesser known genres like punk, metal, and hardcore. But I am truly curious of how many people understand the integral place of Afro-Caribbean influence in UK punk, in the creation of ska and the traditional skinhead movement as a whole. This, I think, actually is done on purpose, because when the average person hears the word skinhead, they think of a neo-Nazi, and that's with good reason, right? They think of a bigot and someone who's violent and dangerous. But what if I told you that the original skinheads were actually working class Jamaican immigrants in England, and that the white kids who started hanging with them were imitating black style? Reggae and ska are genres birthed in Jamaica, but they both have played a significant role in shaping punk's sound and ethos, contrary to popular belief. In my opinion, punk would be a completely different genre as a whole without reggae, and we wouldn't have ska punk, oi, or any of their related genres without it. We wouldn't have the Clash either. The British punk movement, particularly in cities with large Caribbean immigrant populations like London, embraced reggae's anti-establishment themes. Reggae at the time was one of the only genres that were openly anti-authoritarian, embracing alternative lifestyles. Their influence was bigger and more far-reaching than the powers that be wanted. Think about it. It went from Beatlemania to people listening to Rastafarians. The parents were losing their shit.
anti-establishment. You mean we don't like establishments? Well, yes. Everything, you see the music say, death to black and white oppressors, to all oppressors. You know, we are dealing with human beings, we are dealing with the purpose why God created man in the first place, and how man should live. And we, these people, want to live like how God said man should live. And through reggae music, we convey our message because there's a lot of people not living that way. Not that them don't want to live that way, but they're forced to live the other way. So the music come to change, you know. The music come to change the whole idea. I don't know how long it might take, but...
Rastafarians are inherently punk because their philosophy as a whole is against colonialism and its mindset. The Clash openly acknowledged their debt to reggae, as seen in tracks like White Man and Hammersmith Police, or their cover of Junior Murphy's Police and Thieves. The Clash had a Jamaican DJ named Don Letts who merged punk, reggae, and dub. It influenced the Clash so much that they started to embrace reggae in their songs.
For many of us, and it's not just a black thing, it's a working class thing particularly, you know, the clothes that you had on your back were the only way that you could create an identity. I think the reason subcultures have been so prevalent in this country, there's several reasons actually. I mean, one of them is the fact that England is effectively a tiny island. So it's possible for ideas to spread really quickly. And also the story of multiculturalism. I'm first generation British born black, so at home I had all that Jamaican stuff, but at school, you know, I'm getting the Beatles, I'm getting the Stones, I'm getting Led Zeppelin. It kind of gave me this weird duality, which back in the early 70s, which was a really confusing concept. And it wasn't until, I don't know, maybe the mid-80s that being black and British actually began to mean something.
Bands like Steel Pulse were on punk bills. They played with punks and skins, and their themes resonated with punks and skins who were fighting against racism at the time because they were integrated. But it goes even deeper. The original skinhead movement of the late 1960s was not rooted in racism at all, but in working class unity and a shared love of music. The original skinhead movement emerged among working class youth in Britain around 1967 through 1969. Unlike the racist image later associated with them, the original scene was deeply multicultural, with both black and white working class kids bonding over music, fashion, and a sense of rebellion. In the 1950s and the 1960s, many Jamaican immigrants moved to Britain as a part of the Windrush generation.
When Jamaican music first arrived here in the 60s, it spoke mainly to the West Indian community. Ska and early reggae were little more than novelties, though they offered a new soundtrack for the working class teens, black and white.
These Jamaican youth brought with them ska, rocksteady, and really early reggae music. Their style, short hair, sharp suits, pork pie hats, and polished shoes, became known as the rude boy look in Jamaica. Before Rude Boys, British youth were still trying to find their footing after Beatlemania. These sounds and styles became the backbone of early skinhead culture, embraced by white and black working class youth alike.
Hits like Israelites may have sounded like novelty music at the time, but they inspired a new generation with a taste for reggae, which they would eventually make their own.
I think people forget that there was this golden period in the late 60s, particularly early 70s, where there was a lot of particularly melodic reggae tunes having top 20 hits.
Hit the spot!
Black people on the telly period in the 60s and 70s, even if they were a criminal, we'd be all like, I was going to say ringing each other up, but the phone, we didn't even have phones in those days, but we'd be knocking on each other's doors. Black man on the telly, black man on the telly. If they were singing great music, even better.
Your thing, baby, your thing. On a twin spin, baby.
So by the time Dave and Ansel Collins had come along and was doing a kind of Booker T with a James Brown kind of voice, and they go, huh, hit it, Chuck's a minor, ow.
Good God. Too much, I like it, huh?
What really got me was the fans. We had to actually run for our lives. You know, the screaming and shouting and grabbing and tearing up shirts and all them things. You know, it was crazy, but we enjoyed it.
I am the magnificent baby.
They would be banging on the door. They would be banging down the door. And you're saying, man, these people are crazy, you know. It was a bit surprising as well to us at times because we never thought that English people had so much oomph where the music is concerned.
In the early 70s, reggae inspired both the West Indian community and the white working class fans. First mods, then skinheads.
Bands like the Pioneers, Desmond Decker, and Toots and the Maytals were staples in skinhead culture, their lyrics resonating with themes of struggle and resilience. Laurel Adkin is considered the godfather of ska and the father of all skins. Early skinhead songs from the 1960s were all reggae and openly spoke about skins, rude boys, and the pride amongst them.
Yeah, I'm a skinhead. What's wrong with that? I came to England 1960 and decided to try to better my career. I used to have skinheads coming to listen to me, to dance to me. I was playing the music that they wanted to hear, which was a skinhead reggae or ska. I used to be a skinhead with my pork pie hat and my suits. And everything, and they used to have lots of black skinheads, but some of them now, I don't know. Some of them get too old. Some of them going to church now, and some of them die. But they used to have lots of black skinheads. But they never fight against white skinheads because in those days. People just go to a dance to have fun and dance till the morning comes. Ska started by boogie music from New Orleans in America. And we start experimenting by doing different things with the boogie music. And that's how ska came. And if you listen, probably you might be too young, but if you listen to some of the old rhythm and blues from America, you hear a guitar, a shuffle, a guitar shuffle. That is ska.
It was a hopeful, uniting, and exciting movement. At the same time, white British mods were listening to Black American R&B, soul, and early ska music.
Do you want me to get down on my knees, beg you, baby, please, cry a million tears? Do you want me to call you on the phone, beg you to come home, think of all the years?
dancing in northern soul clubs and collecting records, most of which did not do well in America first. But the mods didn't know, nor did they care. Good music is good music, and so they danced, and they danced all night. Mods also started adopting the rude boy style, and by the late 1960s, a tougher, striped down version of the mod culture emerged, the skinhead.
Teenagers were finally beginning to dress as individuals, and by the beginning of the decade, new tribes emerged. The Doc Martin dandy was born. Skinheads, suedeheads and soul boys created their own look, which embraced traditional men's clothing, but gave it an edge and an attitude of its own.
I mean, most things in fashion style music are a reaction to something else. Before glam rock, the overriding youth, working class youth look had been skinhead, which was very regimented. You could only wear a Ben Sherman, Levi Stay Press, a Crombie coat. It was all very much kind of dictated.
I'd rather be a skinhead than anything else. He's a much smarter dressed person than a hippie or a rocker. He looks smarter, his hair always looks cleaner. His appearance is much cleaner, I think.
I want all you skinheads to get up on your feet. Put your braces together and your boots on your feet. And give me some of that old moon stomping.
I am W-O-O-O, and I'm still here again.
Meanwhile, the influence of second-generation British immigrants began to make itself heard, with ska and soul music becoming popular.
I think what you were witnessing there, particularly among the young skinheads and mods and all of that who are into that, was actually the first sign of the multicultural England. Because those skinheads, with their skanking dances and their ska records, were the first generation of white English kids to grow up with black neighbours, black schoolmates, to grow up with those rhythms.
Skinheads were dancing to ska music and just eating it up. And I think that a lot of the British people probably wondered what was happening to their kids. And it came into England with a force. And all the kids who felt that music still feel it today.
You've got to understand that there's a great tradition of the white working class youth aligning themselves with the rebel sounds that were around at that time. And invariably, that's always been black music. I think the difference with the 70s experience is that the effect was a lot more direct. No longer were people listening to musics from the Mississippi Delta. You know, we were growing up next door to people. It was more River Thames than the Mississippi Delta.
In urban areas, there was a lot of mixing between young working class white lads and young black Caribbean males because they had a lot of things in common. And that kind of coalesced for some young skinheads, white skinheads, around an interest in reggae music and black kind of cultural artifacts.
Shorter hair, tailored clothes, more edgy. Caesar cuts, polished boots, jean skirts, Chelsea cuts. Thus, the original skinhead movement was a fusion of Jamaican rude boy culture and British working class mod culture, unified by ska, reggae, and soul. The clothing and fashion define the culture the most. Shaved heads or very short hair, Ben Sherman, Fred Perry, suspenders, Heritage jackets, Levi jeans, Doc Martens, loafers, and bobber boots became the calling card. It became a working class uniform. This was fairly ambitious at the time, you have to understand. Integrated young people, creating a style that they all could connect and relate to, that transcended race. This was punk before punk happened. In the late 1970s, two-tone ska emerged as a direct response to the racial tensions of the time, promoting a message of unity. Two-tone was the color of the ska records, but it was also the color of the crowds and the bands, black and white. This is really a subculture of integration and intersectionality, with the National Front and white nationalists becoming more aggressive at the time, and the country becoming more and more divided. Bands like the Specials, the Selector, the Beat, and others, featuring both black and white musicians, further solidified the multicultural identity of this movement.
One of the things about the whole two-tone thing is it's very much dance music.
Yeah, we're a dance band. We like people to move. We like people to get involved. I mean, when we're on stage, all we put out really is sort of our music and the basic feeling that's behind it, and we can't play unless we move at the same time. And it would appear that the audience can't come and watch us unless they move at the same time. So that suits us both fine, you know. But, I mean, to say that we're just a dance band, I think is a bit of a generalisation.
Yeah. Well, no, I wasn't saying that.
No, I know you... No, I said that really, didn't I? Yeah. Well, we're not just a dance band.
People have said that, yeah.
We had things to say as well.
What's a rude boy?
I'm a rude boy. I'm a rude boy. Alright, I will answer your question. A rude boy is just a rugged ruffian. Roughneck like I myself, right? They get into trouble. It's just like some young boy over here now, England. They're getting into trouble, breaking into houses and, you know, just vandalising places and setting places on fire. Well, when they get to about, say, 16, and they're doing little things a bit heavier than that, that's the rude boys, or you could class rude boys in the way of skinheads now, but not the skinheads go around now fighting, but the rude boys, they didn't have to fight unless there was something to fight about.
That's what the whole thing's been about, really, isn't it? Sort of mixture of various styles, like a bit of punk influence in it.
Yeah.
This movement's scarce society. They did not know how to define it. They did not know what to do with them. Now integration is commonplace, but back then it was something they had to actively defend, and it was novel. Like, why would you want to hang out with these white kids? You're Jamaican, and vice versa. Economic hardship in Britain during the progression of the 1970s led to the rise of far-right groups such as the National Front, which sought to recruit disaffected white youth. And this is where the skinhead culture was co-opted by races and converged. White nationalists were pretty angry and frustrated that instead of being hateful towards black people and Pakistanis, white working class youth were integrating with them, being friends with them, marrying them, having kids with them. The National Front Party, as most white supremacist parties do, used whiteness to separate some of the skinheads from their traditional and intersectional roots to embrace white pride. If you've seen This Is England, you know the story.
Excuse me, mate, is there a toilet here? Anyway.
Oh, the ass is killing.
All right, boss. Round the back. Yeah. Go, yeah, round the back. Round the back. Cheers, pal. Cheers. All right, Tom, mate.
I'm actually, yeah. Should there be a barbecue or something? I'll bottle.
Right, look, you three, I want you on your best behaviour right now, right? Fucking best behaviour. Yeah?
Oh, he's got a nice car. Nice car.
Really, how would they hold it back, lads? Hang on, wait there, do you know what I mean? All right, just wait there. Just wait there now, shh. Wait up, behave yourself, wait there.
You're all right. How are you, Arthur? Good to see you.
All right, let me wait. All right, pleasure. Pleasure. Pleasure.
All right.
This is it.
Gentlemen, there is a forgotten word. No, an almost forbidden word. A word that means more to me than any other. That word is England.
Yes! Some skinheads were drawn into this racist ideology, which led to the false association of all skinheads with white nationalism. And this is a stain that can't be removed. because of this, and every traditional skinhead knows this, and they hate it. Many skinheads rejected this shift, and they fought to reclaim their movement because it was one of integration and intersectionality, not of division. It became a huge issue, actually. Skinheads went from being completely overlooked by society and a humble demographic to the face of white pride on newspapers and on television, and the face of hate crimes in England and abroad. This led to the rise of racist skinheads, also known as boneheads, by anti-racist skinheads. And that differentiation matters to skins. They call them boneheads because skinheads originally were not about racism. And innocent traditional skinheads actually started getting beat up by crowds of people who unknowingly assumed that they were Nazis. Nazis were rising in numbers and attacking anti-fascist skinheads and integrated skinheads as well. A lot of the bands we know and love were being attacked and threatened. They started growing out their hair.
All the clubs are being closed down. This place is coming like a ghost town. Bands won't play no more. Too much fighting on the dance floor.
A lot of skinheads interested in the culture at the time walked away because of the danger it started to bring. People were getting attacked or worse, even killed. Like, it was that bad in Britain during this. Bands like Screwdriver, for instance, became the face of skinhead culture with they were a white power band instead of the Jamaican Rude Boys who created it and the British white youth who embraced their style of music. It became something else entirely. And that hatred spread to the US, unfortunately. In the 1980s, skin culture wasn't that popular in America outside of bands like Agnostic Front and the Cro-Mags. But with the rise of these hate attacks overseas, this sort of Nazi culture began to trickle over here too and cause havoc in local punk scenes. In 1987, SHARP, aka Skinheads Against Racial Prejudice, was founded in New York City to challenge the racist image of skinheads and restore its original inclusive roots.
So Lewis Young begins a special report tonight. Are the skinheads violent racists or, more innocently, young people in rebellion? Lewis?
Well, the answer is complicated, Bill. The skinheads emerged in England more than 20 years ago. Young, working-class people looking for a means of self-expression among the hippies and rockers of that time. The movement lingered through the 70s, taking on a tougher, more violent edge, and they have been in New York for the best part of the last decade. Lately, a racist skinhead minority has gained national media attention, and many skinheads are saying, no, that isn't us. We decided to take a look.
It's a working-class movement that's politically aware. I enjoy the style, I enjoy the music. It's something that I fit into.
A very rainy Sunday in New York, and we have come to CBGB's here in the Lower East Side because the skinhead movement is built essentially around a special kind of rock and roll music, a kind of rock and roll music that is performed here. And we come on Sunday because Sunday for skinheads is Thrash Day. The skinheads are drawn to the angry power of punk rock music and display their appreciation of it by thrashing about on the stage and dance floor. The music articulates a rage that all skinheads seem to share, but few seem able to put into words. The shaved heads, the polished steel-tipped work boots, the skinhead style, all provide a refuge and a vague code of conduct for a small segment of our alienated young. In New York recently, I sat with 3 skinheads who object to the racists and the Nazis. One of them, you will note, is black. He is also a little angry about all this white power talk.
If we don't stand against them because it seems nobody else is doing anything about it, we'll die for it. That's the way we feel about it.
This skinhead agrees and says you can usually tell racist and Nazi skinheads by the swastikas on their bodies and clothing.
Well, my name's Roddy Moreno. I'm the singer with Cardiff oi band The Oppressed. We're an anti-fascist skinhead band, not through choice, but because of fascist skinheads, we've been forced to make a stand and be an anti-fascist skinhead band. In one of our first concerts, somebody started ziggling. So we stopped the song. We told them, knock it on the head, don't do it, we're not fascist, we hate racists, you've been warned. And from that moment on, we'd made our stand. Like, we won't have racists at our concerts, we won't have people ziggling at our concerts. It was our way of letting everyone out there know The Oppressed are an anti-racist skinhead band. To us, skinheads was just simply about being working class, being proud of yourself, and knowing where you come from. If you're a racist, you can't be a skinhead. Because skinheads wouldn't exist without Jamaica. So to deny the culture, which is why eventually we call them boneheads, because they're not skinheads. They're boneheads, we're skinheads. We look at them as a totally different, but obviously the world outside think we're all the same. Which is why when I found this sharp flyer in New York, I come back to Britain and decided to use my renown, if you like. I knew there were skinheads around the world, knew who I was. Sent out badges and flyers to everyone I could think of. Went to concerts, handing them out. People eventually started writing in. I'd send back to them saying, use the Sharp logo. If you do a concert, make it a Sharp concert. If you do a disco, make it a Sharp disco. So people can see on the poster, skinheads against racial prejudice, and it'll make them stop and think.
Sharp quickly spread internationally, fostering an anti-racist working-class identity among skins. Alongside Sharp, Rash, or Red and Anarchist skinheads, emerged in the 1990s, incorporating socialist and anarchist politics into the movement.
It's a shame, crying shame, what our past is buried, and our victory's unnamed. It's a crying shame. Rose again. 1919 in Berlin. But they didn't learn the lessons from the Russians that they should. Revolution, revolution drowned in blood. It's a crying shame. But the lessons stay. It's a crying shame. The lessons play.
Has always been political and it's always been intersectional, but with the creation of these groups, it was deliberate reclamation of what was stolen and tainted by these white supremacists. Unfortunately, this culture will forever be tainted by this stain because of stolen valor. That's what it is. But it's important to me and the folks who live and breathe this true history and this culture to let you know, just like with everything else, a racist stole something and then claimed it as their own. In the late 1970s, punk rock influenced some skins, leading to oi music, which is a rowdy working-class punk subgenre. Key anti-racist oi bands included The Oppressed, The Business, and Coxbar. Despite its complicated history, the true roots of skin culture are firmly multicultural, working class, and music driven. It began as a fusion of Jamaican and British culture, and while some racist elements try to co-opt it, many have fought to keep true skin culture inclusive and anti-racist. A truly safe DIY punk scene, hardcore scene, alternative scene in general, actively rejects racism, bigotry, and sexism, and keep the movement about unity. Anyone being apolitical right now is your op, especially in this climate. There's no, I just want to have fun right now. Like, no.
If you ain't got the bottle to stand by your roots, maybe it's time to give up the boots. Don't fucking call yourself a skinhead if you're fucking afraid to confront these bastards, like, you know what I mean? Because if it was meant to be anything, it was about fucking not letting people take the piss out of you. Yeah. And the way I look at it, the racists are taking the piss out of the culture. So don't, if you're going to sit there and say, oh, I'm not political, I don't want to get involved, well, fuck off, do you know what I mean? Don't be a fucking skinhead, you know? Be a mod. No, I'm only joking, mods are cool. They're our fathers. Just a simple statement. I'm an anti-racist skinhead. Just letting people know, you know what I mean? It's the only way you can, like, you know, obviously you can go out and slap the boneheads and fucking wreck their shows and stuff like that if you can. Yeah. I'm 59 now, so that's all a bit behind me, you know? We'll work together and put a little black skinhead and a little white skinhead up, you know, together on the front cover. That was like our stand, like, you know. Yeah. So everybody knew we got all to do with these right wings.
Like, it's so simple to make your shows and your alternative scenes just a little bit more intentional politically. Despite efforts to erase Black contributions to punk, hardcore, and skin culture in general, history will always tell a different story. These movements were shaped by multicultural influences, blending working class struggle with music. And today, it's our job to ensure that these subcultures remain as rebellious and inclusive as they were always meant to be. So no, punks can't be conservative. Posers.
Adelante!